Take 20. Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for joining the very first episode of my podcast. I'm just editing this video and I actually decided that I'm not going to start my podcast now, so I'm not going to share the name of the podcast. I'm just going to record and share if I feel called to, because I don't want to make a podcast until I'm ready to be consistent with it. So I'm not ready right now. However, we'll see what the future holds. And I'm the host, Marie Matheson. For those of you who don't know me, I opened up a YouTube channel back in 2021 and I kind of went on hiatus for a little while. Like, I didn't post for a couple years and I just started posting again. And with that, I decided last week that I was going to go ahead and open up a podcast. I literally came up with the name and everything last week, and I wasn't planning even on posting tonight or like recording tonight, but it just kind of felt right to do. I mean, minus all the issues I had, but I'm going to first start off and let you know that there is a trigger warning in this episode. I'm going to be talking a bit about sexual abuse, as well as talk about potentially talk about self-harm, and potentially, you know, just talk about sort of the darkness and give you an idea of where I came from and who I am. I am doing this unscripted. I don't have a specific plan in mind of saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In my other, when I was posting on YouTube, any of the videos where I was sitting down and having a conversation with the camera, I had written down, like, I had jotted down different notes, and of course I was still trying to be myself, but then it was like, there was so much pressure to like put out good content, and obviously if you go back and look, you're like, you can tell amateur everywhere. Like, it's hard for me to look at that content now. It's just so cringy. That being said, I posted a video 2 weeks ago and I'm still like cringy from that. So that's why I was like, you know what? Why put starting this podcast off any longer, when in reality, no matter what content I put out there today, in 2 years from now, after I learn more and I, you know, grow and I just like develop my podcasting skills, no matter how long I wait to do my first video, I'm gonna look back and be like, ugh, that's so cringy. Which is why today I'm like, okay, well, may as well just start. I've tried to do the intro, I don't even know how many times, like so many times. And each time I'm like, it's just, there's just a fine line between me using my like work voice / my phone voice compared to like just talking naturally. So for anybody who knows me, they know that I can talk a lot and often, and I just want to make this podcast and be as authentic as I can and really share my story and be, you know, as real as I'm comfortable with being, which is like, I want to, excuse me, Charles. Now he wants to play. I literally tried to play with him while I was getting everything ready. He was not having it. I might have to play with him while I do the podcast. Wait. Hello, is the white bitch? Where's my treats? Are you wanting to play now? Of course, just when I start. The fuck. Okay, well, memento. So funny. I feel like that was the most comfortable one I had, and now he's like, oh, let me just knock you off your flow. Perfect. Now I forget where I'm at and what I was saying, but it's fine. When deciding to do this podcast, I kind of figured that the beginning would be me talking about sort of where I came from and some of the darkness that I went through. But I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk, and whatever comes out, comes out. Because I feel like that's what my podcasts are going to be while I get used to it. So I just hope that you bear with me during this transition of learning how to podcast and just feeling comfortable in front of the camera. And I know that it's probably going to be a bit unorganized to start, and that's fine, but I will try very hard to, you know, share, you know, authentic stories from my life. And I will say that there are other people who are in my life and who might come up throughout these podcasts. However, I'm only going to be talking about my story and sharing my view of it. two people can have the exact same thing happen to them, and two people can have, like, be in the exact same place at the exact same time, and yet their versions of the story can be completely distorted. And I knew this to be a bit true, but then in 2021, or so 2022 to 2023, I really learned it. I spent a lot of time going out, and I was the designated driver, and hearing some of the stories the day after where we were all at the exact same place at the exact same time, and multiple people had completely different stories, and I'm like, wow. And I recorded a lot throughout that time. Sometimes I could pull up a video and be like, guys, like, this is the legit story. Here's what you can see here. Other times it would be like two people would think one thing, and then two people would think completely different things, and then it would be like, so there's some truth in the middle. And so all I'm going to say is, in this podcast, I don't want to talk about other people's perspective or how other people might have thought or felt or their side of the stories at all. I really just want to focus on my version of the story and really what I learned from them. And yeah, so I've dealt with a lot of addiction throughout my life, a lot of codependency throughout my life. I've dealt with a lot of like attachment issues, a lot of fucking darkness. I can honestly, I feel like there's so much that I can say and will have the opportunity to say now in the podcast, because I was planning on doing this, but then sharing it on like TikTok and sharing it on YouTube and sharing it in Reels. But as I'm doing that, I started posting videos a couple weeks ago, but I have not found enjoyment yet with just talking to the camera and then posting it. Instead, I've found more enjoyment by like doing different trends, or like going out and doing like on vacation and like vlogging it and then sharing that. Like, that brings me joy. And that is one thing that I can say, even though there might be parts of what I do that don't bring me joy, like preparing for the podcast today and doing the intro 17 times, okay, that stuff does not bring me joy. But I do feel like creating the podcast and having this as a new experience, but also a place where I can tell my truth and be able to share my story, and hopefully it ends up reaching people who can get some type of value out of it. Because I will just say right now that I will be the first to tell you, I don't know shit, okay? I don't know shit. I know that I know what I know, but I also know that there's so much more that I don't know, and I'm excited to be able to learn it in ways that I enjoy learning, and I'm also excited to be able to meet people that teach me new things and that like can that I can also learn and grow with. So basically, I understand that my opinions today are going to be different, if not completely different. They could be slightly different 2 years from now. I understand that. Even the way that I thought in 2021 when I started like aggressively working on myself, I feel like in 2021 and 2024 I spent so much time just hermiting and being like alone and working on myself, and the way that looked in 2021 was completely different than it looked in 2024. And so even though like I am still the same person, it's like my whole brain works completely different. So before I just jump in to like talking more about like where I came from and all that, I will just start off by saying like the biggest changes that I've made in the last year has really been like the way I talk to myself in my head. There's been a drastic shift from, in my opinion, my brain, the way I talk to myself has went from dark to light. And now it's almost like I have two brains. I've got a light brain and a dark brain. And then all of a sudden, sometimes it's like my light brain can be like on point for days, and then all of a sudden something might happen, or I might do something that I shouldn't be doing, and something happens, and then all of a sudden that darkness starts kind of coming in more. And so grateful that I have the tools and the knowledge for the most part to be able to, when that darkness does come in, then, and I say the darkness, but really I would say for the last decade I've called it the itty bitty shitty committee in my head. When that comes in and it starts chirping or says, those dark things, whether it's, that anger, the frustration, or like I don't know why I feel so hesitant saying this, but it's true. Or when the dark thoughts come in, like, well, I guess I'm just going to be blunt with it. So when the dark thoughts come in and that itty bitty shitty committee in there is, encouraging me to hurt myself or encouraging me to end my life, I have to say I am so grateful to have the tools for the most part to be able to take me out. And I say for the most part because even though I've had the tools, sometimes it's just like, not that I'm actually self-harming, and not that I'm actually like, I have zero plan into ending my life or anything like that. But sometimes you just end up spiraling down. Not you, but me. And I know that, like, from the people that I've talked to in my life, I know that there's a lot of people that are like that too. So when that itty bitty shitty committee comes in and brings the dark thoughts and thinks about self-harming or thinks about ending my life, it's like I now have the tools to be able to work my brain out of the darkness and bring it back to the light. And the longer that I use the tools that I have, the more consistent the light stays, and the longer it takes for my brain to go back to that darkness. But it's almost like that darkness has been a default in my life forever. Even since 2021, since doing the work, since, doing this, it's like I couldn't actually tell you how many times my brain dipped down to darkness. And I don't think even in 2021, I think in 2021, I started to see the light. I think in 2021, the light started to kind of creep in and to shine in a bit. And then it's like I had the most fun I've ever had in my whole life. In 2022, between like 2022 and the summer of 2023, even though like 2023 started kind of dipping down a little bit, but I still had more fun than I've ever had in my whole life. And I am so grateful for that time. And I feel like it changed so many parts of me. Actually, the last 3 years have. Like, it's been, I just feel like a whole new person, knowing where my brain was, where my confidence was, where my self-talk was, where my self-worth was, where my, like, so many different things have changed, even though I probably look the same and whatever, and most people who will talk to me probably wouldn't even notice a difference, but I can tell you there has been a massive shift, and I am so fucking grateful for it. I'm just so grateful. And I know there's probably people out there that think that I overuse the word grateful, but I can't help it because I truly am. I am truly fucking grateful. And as frustrated as I was setting shit up, but then it was like, okay, I'd be upset, and then I'd just be like, okay, well, gonna eat. It's like, well, fuck, this shit is not setting up. God damn it. And then it's like, well, at least I have this stuff. Like, I bought a lot of this stuff in 2021 when I started my YouTube channel. So I'm like, oh, well, I am grateful that I don't have to be like, oh my God, I literally bought nothing for the podcast. Nothing. Everything I had was, I had it before, or I had it for something else, or I had it for, like, I bought nothing for the podcast because I had everything. And because I didn't even know I was doing it until last week. And I didn't know I was going to do it today until I was halfway through my day, and I was like, oh, well, I planned my day for tomorrow. I'm spending it with my kidlets and my brother-in-law, so I'm excited for that. And, yeah, and so then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just get this done tonight. And so now it is 10:53, and here we are. So, with all that being said, I am just going to jump in, and I'm going to start talking about kind of where I came from. I have a biological father, and then I have my dad. My dad is the man who's raised me since I was 8, 9, I don't know, but like, you know, that around that age. Yeah, 9, 7, I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 9. I actually have no idea, to be honest, and it could be a little bit older, I can't remember. But anyways, that's my dad. I love my dad. My dad is fucking hardworking, and he's just got the biggest heart, and I am so fucking grateful for him. He like was the most consistent man in my life. Like, he just, I know that if I picked up the phone right now and called him, he would pick up. Like, I know, even if he's sleeping, like, I know that he's there for me if I ever need, and I'm just so fucking grateful for him. So I just want to say that about my dad, okay? I'm not going to be talking about my dad at all anymore throughout this podcast. I just don't want him to be mistaken for the biological father. So I'm going to push my dad out of this and bring in my biological father. My mom and biological father divorced around the time I was 18 months. I don't exactly know when the sexual abuse happened, but I do know he sexually molested me from when I was a baby, and it ended when I was in grade 1. He ended up going to jail for 18 months. He ended up taking a plea deal. From what I've been told, he took a lie detector test and he passed that. And so we were going to go to court, but when we were doing the pre-trials or whatever, when they kind of bring you in to kind of prep you for the actual trial, I guess he made a plea deal at that time. So that's why he got 18 months. And after he served that 18 months, I'll just say he moved to another province, okay? So I would have been in grade 3. I don't even know how old that is at that time. So ages don't actually matter. I'm not going to fixate on timelines and ages and stuff like that, because I feel like there's a good chance that I could make a mistake in there. But I will just say that the sexual abuse that I endured during that time was during such monumental years of my life. And so that was my foundation. And it wasn't that it just happened once in a while. It was something that happened so consistent that it didn't, and this sounds awful for me to say probably out loud, but there was no trauma to, there was not trauma's not the right word, because there was trauma because of how it impacted the rest of my life, but the memories I have from it are, the only emotion that I can say to some of it was boredom. Like, I remember being I'm gonna say forced to do things because I was a fucking nothing years old, right? But I remember feeling bored at times, I wanted to go out and do something else, but I had to do that instead. Or times that one time it was a neighbor came to the door, and it was I just remember he threw me into the bathtub and turned the water on. It was so cold, and I was like, what did I do wrong? And I was I just remember that shock of it. And then I heard in the background, he's like, oh, I'm just giving her a bath now. I remember being worried that I was going to get in trouble or something anyways. So because I think it wasn't traumatic for me, there wasn't traumatic for me in the moment. I think that there was it didn't have the same, I think it impacted me different than it did other people. There's a way shorter list of people, of women who have been in my life, and I'm talking about from a kid, from a teenager, okay? Because that's when I really, that's when the conversations about sexual abuse and started kind of coming out more. I bet you there's been, I guarantee you that more women in my life from when I've been a teenager up until today have been sexually abused or sexually assaulted or taken advantage of by a man in some way compared to the ones that haven't. Well, I'll just say because of that, I heard many stories, and I loved watching documentaries. So I'd watch tons of documentaries. I'd watch tons of movies based on real life. And so you kind of watch different, I'd watch all the abduction documentaries, and people going whether it's women abducted, kids being abducted, or like different traumatic stories, and then there's sexual abuse in there, and just like hearing and listening to how, you know, women in my personal life, in my, you know, what I've seen on TV or movies or what I've read online, it's like I hadn't had a situation where I could relate to what that person had said about it. And for the amount of stories I've heard, it made me grow up feeling like that there was something wrong with me because I didn't feel those emotions the same way a lot of other victims ended up feeling. And I remember when I was 21, there was a therapist, a counselor I ended up talking to, and I said like, what's wrong with me? Like, the understanding was like, I was feeling guilty because I wasn't feeling the same way as other people that have had similar things happen to them, or who have had, you know, something completely different happen to them, but like still abused, like sexually abused, right? So it really kind of fucked me up a bit. Like, and so it's not like I sat there and thought about it a lot, but then there was something being like, well, there was a part of me that kind of felt like I was like broken. And so I said to the counselor, I said like, something along the lines, obviously I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember word for word, but I was just like, because I don't feel bad about it, I'm like, does that mean there's something wrong with me? Does that, like, how is it okay that this happened to me? Like, how is it okay? And I just like, I think about it. I tell so many people the story. I've like literally told, the reason why I don't even talk about it a lot in public is because it literally will make other people very uncomfortable, but it's like easy for me to talk about. And so there was like this disconnect almost from it. It's like, yes, I know what he did was wrong. I know that it is disgusting. I know that he like is sick in the head, and like I understand that, but the feelings were not attached to it. So this counselor said to me, imagine it happened to, you know, one of, I don't even want to say that. I don't want to project. I don't want to say that, but I'm going to say what she said. She said, well, what happened? Well, how would you feel if it happened to one of your nieces? And I got fucking angry. I literally was like, why would you even say that? Why would you put that in my head? Like, what the fuck? And I was just getting so angry. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with you. That's what she said. So then I was like, okay. So that was the solution. That was like literally the solution. It was like, see, nothing's wrong with you. You're not like, I think she was like, oh, you're not a sociopath. She didn't say that at all. But she didn't say, no, you're not a sociopath. But like in her head, she was like, yeah, see, nothing's wrong with you. You know, like you have feelings. It's fine. Oh, I don't know where to go from here. There's something I really want to say and I don't want to forget, but I guess I'm going to hold that back for a second. I'm just going to say, as much as I didn't have those feelings towards it when it was like about me, like it was hard to shake the guiltiness that I didn't have the feelings towards me. In hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, bitch, you didn't love yourself. Like, but, well, I still can talk about it and it doesn't bring me the emotion. I think like I feel like I'm fairly desensitized to it at this point, but part of all the healing that I've done, you know, really analyzing like, oh shit, like tying certain feelings or certain actions or certain things that I've done, being like, oh, I get it now. I get it. And there's more of a click. You know, I spent most of my life and didn't tell anybody this, but like as I grew up, I was like kind of inappropriate as a kid. Like I remember just like feeling the need to want to please someone. Like I know that sounds sick and it is so inappropriate, but it's really, and so when I was 12-ish, I just remember the house I lived at. I remember the house that I lived at, and I think it was between 12 and 14. For sure, 14 I moved to another place. So between 12 and 13, 12 and 14, like, but it was going on for some time. We had a house computer, and you know, back then it wasn't just like turn it on and use it. It was dial up. It was like Maybe I'll play the sound of it here. So we used dial-up, and we had a computer that was shared with everyone, and I would go on there and I would go to games.com, and it was a place that you could play like Monopoly. I think Boggle was on there, different games like that. Candyland, but I mostly put on Monopoly because you don't even have to think, you just keep rolling. But really, I used it to chat with other men, and they would message you, and it would be like ASL, which back then meant age, sex, location. So how old are you, or what's your gender, and where do you live? And so I would tell them, and I told them my real age and my real location and and then so from there, it was the majority of it was men. I was never into like talking to like 50-year-olds, but I would talk to anybody under 30 basically. And most of them I would say were between 20 and 30. And so I was 12 to 14, and they would add me onto Messenger, and then when I could get away with it, I would sneak downstairs sometimes when everybody was sleeping, or I would shut the door, and I was so sneaky. Like, I was so sneaky. I never got caught. And honestly, there's a part of me that fucking hates that my parents are gonna, like, that my mom and my dad are gonna be fucking watching this, because I don't like them to know, because I don't want them to feel fucking shitty about it, which it's not their fault. Listen, it's maybe their fault for making me as smart and resourceful as I am, but it's not their fault that I fucking did this. But anyways, I'd go on there, be text messaging with them, and then I would go on cam, and they would tell me what to do, and I would just do it for them. I'll leave it at that. But that happened for years, up until I was, so from 12 to 15, I was doing that. And I kind of mentioned this in my first YouTube video I ever posted, but basically I was very comfortable with doing that, and I got really good at hiding it. And at one point, the computer was even in our living room, and I still fucking got away with it. And like, I think about it now, and I'm like, oh my God, they were fucking just a bunch of pedophiles. And it was so many of them. Like, so many of them. Like, I can't even, there's just, yeah. And it was like, oh, if nobody's online, let me go get another one. Games.com. Hey, blah, 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 let's go. Like, and back then, it was nothing like it is online now. And sometimes when I hear of kids that I really love and I care about, and I know that they just have this fucking full freedom to their electronics, like, I'm not saying I don't like full freedom. I'm saying like a fucking 10-year-old should not be up till 4 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning by themselves with their fucking phone and doing whatever they want. Like, oh my God, it makes me feel so gross inside, because I'm 35 years old. And this is, so how many moons ago? And now it is way fucking different. It's so much easier, like everything is easier, and it's just terrifying. But I'm like, I don't have kids, I don't have that, those opinions are not mine to be sharing, and so I just hope and pray for all of my kids. And I say my kids, my nieces and nephews, and the surrogate nieces and nephews, I also call my nieces and nephews. I just like fucking want the best for them, and so sometimes all I can do is pray and hope for the best. And I do hope that they all know that I would be there for them emotionally if they ever needed it, if they ever needed to talk, or if they ever had a shitty situation that they were going through and they just needed somebody to fucking trust and talk to. Unfortunately, I don't have solid relationships with all of my nieces and nephews, and I hope that changes. And the thing is like, they know that I'm there, but some of them I don't even get to talk to. So I just know that everything in my life happens the way that it's supposed to. I don't think that for everybody's life. Honestly, some of the shit that I hear, I'm like, why would that need to happen? But in my life, I do believe that everything happens the way that it's supposed to. So I know that, if I'm meant to be in their lives and be there, like, then it's gonna happen. But I've tried to force it and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Sometimes I'm like, how do I even talk to them? I'm like, oh my gosh, they're at ages that I just like, I don't know. It's like I'm just an old lady to them. They don't fucking know me. We don't live close. So anyways, everything works the way that it's supposed to for me. So I don't stress about it. I did at one point. There was a time in my life where I really stressed about the relationships or lack thereof with my some of my nieces and nephews, and now there's just like, no, I just trust that it's supposed to work out the way it does. So anyway, I did that until I was 15, and then what happened was I was on MSN, and one of the cool guys in my class messaged me, and he was asking me like, hey, like, oh, you should flash me, and I'm like, no, like. And then I didn't say, like, I was like flirtatiously like, no, I can't do that. But like in my head, I'm like, been there, done that. And at that time, I was not fully developed. I had these, back then I wasn't like, I was just a kid still. So it wasn't like I even had much to show. But I did eventually end up flashing him, and he shut the camera off, laughed profusely in the chat, and deleted me from MSN. And God, it was so traumatic for me. I was so anxious. It was awful. But anyways, when I went to school, I remember walking into gym class, and one of the guy's friends, like another guy from my class, ended up being like, hey, yo, you showed her, blah, 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 blah. And he called me out, and I just remember I got so fucking hot and anxious, and I just like didn't know what to do. I was so like, oh man, I just like, I could feel my eyes like wanting to well up with tears, but like I choked that shit down. I was like, I did not, like I just got defensive, and I just was like, I didn't do that, da, 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 da. And then I like walk into the gym class, and one of the girls who was like one of my friends, she kind of ran after me a bit and was like, it's okay. And she was like, you can tell me it's okay if you did. Like, and she was like actually super empathetic, and like I still lied to her. I'm like, I didn't do that. Anyways, from there, I ended up moving to like Saskatoon. So it actually made me move schools. I didn't do it like mid-year, but I did it the next year. It was fucking awful. It was awful. And actually, as awful as that was, I will just say that put very, very strong boundaries up for me when it came to later on in life. Like I was like, I hard no sharing any pictures or videos of like sending anybody pictures or videos of me exposed. Like that literally was traumatic enough that I was like, nope. So, and obviously I'm not saying never have I ever, but like it is so rare. It is extremely fucking rare. I want to say I never did, but then I would be lying. But yeah, I feel like most of my life, and that didn't happen until I was like way older. I went at least a decade without, like there was nothing I sent to anybody over a decade. I was very, very strict with it. And when anybody would ask, I'd be like, no, I'm not even teasing you here. Like, no. There's a lot that I could say after this. And the cool thing is, this is only episode 1 of the podcast. So I am going to try to wrap it up a bit and kind of talk a little bit more about like sort of the healing later on in life and sort of what had happened there. So I told you when I was like 21, I ended up like 21, 22, whatever it was, I ended up having that experience with a counselor. So then I like stopped fixating over me being like broken. I never thought broken in my head, but I thought like something's wrong with me. Like something must be wrong with me for me not to have these feelings, right? Fast forward time. So before I turned 30, I ended up going through a breakup. I was with him for 6.5 years. And after that breakup, it was my first time living alone in almost a decade. And there was a lot of substance use during that time. And as much as I didn't feel the feelings, you know, in my everyday, when it came to like, it didn't consume me. But what was happening was there was a compensation option, okay? There was an option through the government to go through this compensation program where you could get like up to 10 grand or 15 grand. And I'm like, bet, like, I want to fucking do that. Okay. So I was going through it. I remember I went through it and I almost finished it. And then I was like, I'm going to finish the rest for tomorrow. The next day I went there, it was all fucking wiped. Anyways, so during this time, it was bringing up a lot of emotions and a lot of like questions. I wouldn't say, well, I have to say emotions because there was emotion there. I just don't know if I understand exactly what they were. I feel like I had more frustration and anger more than any other emotion at that time in my life. But most of the time I just filled with voids. I just, substance or work or people or, you know, other thing, like just filling the void with not just substance, but with work or with people or with electronics. Like I never was in silence back then. Like no matter what I was doing, I would have to have something on, always, always, always. Something on, or I had to be talking to somebody or like playing a game. There always had to be something going on. So that's how I dealt with it. It's probably why I think some people in my life who have been friends with me or whatever might watch this and see this and be like, nah, bitch, like that's not who she is. But it's like, nah, that's literally it. And if you're thinking that because you were so close to me, you probably filled my void. You were probably one of my codependencies where it was like, oh, being with you fucking helped elevate whatever. So thank you. Thank you for helping me get through it. Anyway, yeah, so then certain substances I was having, and I'm going through this fucking compensation thing. And the thing is, like I said, I have, you know, the memories I have, but then it's like all these questions come up. So then I am not proud of said decisions, but on multiple occasions between 2018 and 2019, I would be inebriated and call my biological father, and I would ask him questions, and sometimes I don't even remember some of the things I said to him, but I know that sometimes it was pretty messy. And I'm not surprised with any of his answers. He doesn't say shit. Like I don't know if he believes what he did was wrong. I don't know really what his standpoint is. And so those things were happening, and sometimes it happened like a couple times in a weekend. Sometimes it would be spread out, but like I just want to say that my relationship with him has never been like between 2018 and 2019 with me not being sober. Those were the most emotional times I've had with him. And I don't even remember most of it, but like, I do know that there were emotions that were coming out, but they weren't making a lot of sense. It was like I kept jumping back from different things from what I remember. I literally would force myself not to think about it the next day and be like, fuck it, whatever. I actually never planned on telling anybody about this, but here it's part of my fucking story, and I am not ashamed of it now. I do believe that needed to happen for some weird reason, and it wasn't for the compensation because I never completed it. And now if you do it, it's only like $1,000 or $2,000. So I'm like, it's not even fucking worth the headache. So I'm not doing it. I'm gonna say I don't plan on doing it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't fucking know. But I will say that was meant to happen at that time. And the other thing I'm going to add before I end this podcast, because I don't know how long it's been, but this is why I should have a fucking podcast, because I don't shut the fuck up. But anyway, and I already skipped through a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I'm like, bitch, you got time. But I will say this. There was a confusing relationship that I had with him. And when I say that, I'm talking about from when I was like, let's say 11 to 15, okay? There was a confusing relationship I had with him because sometimes I would talk to him on the phone. And even though I wouldn't like proactively call him, sometimes he would call me. And then we would like email back and forth sometimes. And again, nobody knew that this was happening. This is just something that kind of happened. And like, he would send me a birthday gift sometimes. Sometimes he would give me birthday money. Sometimes he would like, like when my papa passed away, I think I was 14. I remember he called me and it was just like, hey, how's it going? Good, you good? Like that was the conversation we had. And I remember exactly where I was. I was living in one of the small towns in one of the small towns in Saskatchewan. And I remember like getting the phone and him saying, Papa passed away. And I remember going into like the master bedroom's bathroom, and I just like shut the door and I had the phone, and I just like, it literally was like I think about it now, it was almost like a movie. I literally like slid down the wall and I just sat on the ground and I started crying. And yes, I know that memory stands out because it was really sad for me that my papa passed away. I think there was like a connection that I always felt with him, even though I didn't see him because my biological father lived with my nanny and papa. I remember seeing my nanny and papa one time between the time that he was arrested, like he, was, since everything happened. And so there was like this sad like loss in there that I felt. And I remember feeling so weak for crying on the phone with him. There was like this weakness in me, but I couldn't help it. It was so sad for me. It was so sad. But yeah, and so I'm just saying my relationship with him was very, and like I think back and I wasn't confused at the time. It was like I didn't have anger towards him. I was just like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And it wasn't until I stopped talking to him when I was 15. At 15, I was full blown like, I'm going to call it my teenage years. And I won't go into all that, but there was a hard stop. Like I just never, like he didn't know my cell phone number. Like there was no communication that way. I believe it stopped. So from when I'm 15 for over a decade, it was like until all of a sudden, like I'm trying to do this compensation thing and all these questions are coming up. And really I wanted some answers. Like I want to know, like, do you think what you did was wrong? Because, like, you passed the lie detector test, so, like, there should be, like, unless you're trained to pass the lie detector test, then that's different. But, like, I don't know. There feels like there might be, like, there's, like, a lack of accountability, or there's a lack, like, I don't know. And like, so even when I was asking, one of the easiest questions was, oh, how long approximately do you think it lasts? He's like, you should ask your mom that. Like, he's literally just, like, deflecting. I understand now that, like, I was looking for answers, but, like, let's be real. If he's willing to do that, he's not going to be honest with me with anything, really. Like, I can't trust him like that. So, anyways, what ended up healing that part of me was in 2019, I was watching a documentary. And for the first time in my life, the way that they described their sexual abuse resonated with me so much. And I can't even tell you exactly what was said, but it was literally like to finally, after over a decade and a half, feeling this way, like what, why, like, why do I, like, and not that I fixated over it. I didn't fixate over it. Anyways, when he explained how he felt, and it was just like, it resonated with me so much that hearing his story, it literally just like released something in me. And I had not called him again, or just to like fix one of the things I had said earlier. I said I didn't talk to him within that period of time, but that's not fully true. Like, I did call him one time to find out our family history, and I would have like I had him on speakerphone. Like, it wasn't like a one-on-one conversation kind of thing. So like outside of that, and then I did call and talk to my nanny one time. Like, there might have been one or two times, but it wasn't like a casual conversation. But anyways, I hadn't talked to him since 2019, except for this year, because my nanny passed away in August, and I didn't find out until this year. Maybe it was the end of last year. I don't know, within the last couple months. And so I actually did call him, and I did have a conversation with him. And yeah, there's no honestly, that the conversation was just like, gave gratitude to me that he was not the one to raise me, and that's with the sexual abuse aside. I just feel like the guilt that I've held, for doing certain things as I did when I was a child, or, the guilt that I held guilt for a long time, that I grew up talking to him, and that I grew up like having those conversations with him, and that there was no negative emotion or anything. And then even that in 2018, 2019, that I would get into the state that I got into and had those conversations with him. And now it's nice that it's like, there doesn't feel like emotion, but then, and guilt is an emotion. So I think when I would think about it, there'd be like a guilty feeling I would feel because I would still have those conversations, or because I didn't feel those feelings from the past. And now it's just like, listen, it is what it is. I, obviously wouldn't wish that upon any fucking child. But I will say that because of that foundation, this height of mine, this was not traumatic for me at all. Like having this body, like being short, like I feel like most people would see me and be like, oh, being short is probably like a pretty big hurdle for you in life. And I'm like, no, like in comparison, like being short was just, I want to say it's nothing, but definitely there's been some annoyances or frustrations or whatever. Listen, it all built me into this person I am today, and I cannot be more grateful, because even though I am still very flawed, and even though I know I don't know all the answers, I just do know that living the life that I've lived, and knowing the foundation I've had, and the places that I've been, and the mistakes that I've made, and the darkness that I felt, and then knowing where I am now, oh my God, I am like so much excitement for the future, because I feel like I have only like given a very surface view of who I am and where I came from, because of all of my trauma and all of the issues that I faced growing up. And like, not just growing up, I mean, I can get into 2 years ago. Like, there's so many things that it's just like, I am excited to be able to share my story with people, because I know that there are other people that feel this way. And I also know that as I continue this podcast, I'm going to be able to share, different tools and different situations. If my story can help anybody the way that documentary helped me after a decade of feeling like I felt, fucking let's go. Like, I just feel so grateful for that. Like, let's be vulnerable, tell my story, and help other people who have went through similar things. Some have went through the exact same shit. And it's just like, yeah, I'm grateful for where I am now, and I am grateful for my past. And I would love to sit here and say, I don't have any regrets. But yeah, I'd be lying, okay? I do believe that everything happens to me the way that it's supposed to, but obviously there are regrets that I have that I would love to go back and, change those things, but I can't. But I can focus on my future, and I can focus on the light parts of me, and I can focus on the help that I can bring to others, and hopefully with a little bit of joy and a little bit of light. So anyways, that's a nice awkward ending. So I will just say thank you so much for watching. If you wanted to check out any of my other channels, I will go ahead and put the links in the description below. You can find me on pretty much all the other platforms. So thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for watching if you made it this far. Oh. My foot's sleeping.